These are the most effective ways in reaching your client. All the templates for these have been most effective. And the first is letters, and they're short and easy to read. And the only downside with letters is the cost of postage, but letters are really the most effective, especially when you have that in combination with phone calls. It really, really gives your marketing a boost because a letter is a physical a physical product sitting in their hand in which they're able to touch and feel and see, as opposed to just a phone call in which they hear. So there's less impact with phone calls because, people are receiving phone calls every day from, marketers or spam calls, what have you. But if you have a professionally written letter and you follow that up with a phone call and the professionalism on the letter matches the professionalism, behind the phone call, your chances of getting that client to work with you go up significantly. So keep that in mind. This is kind of in line with brand fluidity and like the way branding works, because if you have, let me give you an example. So if I send out a professional letter and it's very well written, the language and the words are very nice and it looks very, it sounds very professional and it looks very important. And then I call the person or they call me and I just, my grammar's wrong. I'm stuttering and, I just can't put the words together. And that's understandable because if it doesn't match, then it kind of throws your client off. So you want to have the fluidity of the letter and the fluidity of the conversation match. So, if you get a letter from, like let's say a high profile lawyer, it's probably going to be written really well. And then when you speak to that lawyer, he or she will back up, the language with that letter and you can tell that it's the real deal. So here I just want to quickly show you the conference room in which I had to do about, 100 iterations to the letter itself. Before I actually found something that got steady responses. So it took quite a few iterations. For those of you who don't know what an iteration is, it's just how many times you do something and change it until it's effective. They call that an iteration. So I did it about 100 times and I finally got a template which actually gets the best responses for letters. And here is actually the template. Now, if you look at it, we'll start with this one on the left. See the estimated amount payable to you. I put estimated amount because I don't know for sure 100% if that's the exact amount that they're owed. It's an estimate because you don't want to give them an exact amount and then there was a lien or there was some other debt on the property. You just want to give them an estimation. And notice that it's in bold because when I put this in a client's hands, there are certain things I want to stand out. Because the brain is very strange. It'll pick things that it wants to see. And obviously the first thing the brain will see is money and dollar signs. And that's why it's in bold, because everybody will notice money and dollar signs. You ever find money on the ground, it sticks out pretty darn good because, money has, that particular green and, the way it looks, it sticks out very good. So you want to have on your letter certain things that stick out right away. And that's why I put this in bold, estimated amount payable to you. And then we import through mail merge the dollar amount that we have on the overage list or what we've calculated from the auction. Below that, I have action needed. Now I got this from a bank because I noticed I got a letter one day years ago and I saw it said action needed. And it really caught my attention because you're telling the client that they need to do something. Because as we discussed earlier, if they don't do anything, this money gets forfeited to the state. They lose it. So they need to take action. They need to do something. And then as you can see here, the CA, which is for California, and then dash SD 32023. Basically, CA is the state. And this is an identifier I use for the letter. The CA is the state. SD is the county. So this would have been San Diego County. And then 32023 is March of 2023. That's when the auction. I don't put the day because there's multiple auctions sometimes in a month. So it gives me a general idea for tracking purposes. And so I know what data to look at when I get a response from the letter. And then if you look over here, you may apply for these funds. They have to apply for it. They're not automatically going to get this money. They need to apply. Rather than say, hey, I can get you this money, we're going to do this and do that, I just say, you may apply for these funds because they need to fill out an application and they need to file a claim with us. And we help them do that. So again, both are emphasizing that the person needs to do something to get this money. And that has been the most effective. And then this middle one here, this is really the language and the terms that have really made it really clear as of what has happened and where this money came from. So if you look at this property will be sold at auction. So this is a pre-auction letter. So this letter right here is saying that your property is going to be sold because of past due taxes and there may be extra funds left over. So this is a pre-auction letter here before the auction. And then this is a post-auction letter after the auction. This is really the language that's been most effective because it's very easy to understand. Certain things stand out and it gets straight to the point without being rude. And it's just easy to understand and it's been very effective for us.